former Fulton County District Attorney and Sheriff.
Formerly a judge, and he knows a little bit about how these things go.
From Mohawk Valley, legal eagle, lawman.
He is the Sheriff of Fulton County, New York. Just such an amazing guy.
This is the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.
Hello, I'm Rich Giardino, and we have a special program today. We're going to be featuring the 4 Republican candidates in the primary for the 108th Assembly District in upstate New York. The Assembly District is being vacated by the Assemblyman Robert Smullen, who's running for Congress against Anthony Constantino from Sticker Mule. On today's program, we're going to be starting with Heather Scribner, who's the Fulton County Treasurer. She's just entering her second term, and we'll progress after Heather with our next guest. The hope is that you'll be able to hear from these individuals directly on why they're qualified, why they believe they're qualified, what they intend to do, and strategies. From here, I'd like to welcome our first guest, Heather Scribner. Hey, Heather, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me on your show, Sheriff. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I'd like to start by just asking, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're seeking the assembly position after being treasurer, after just starting your second term as treasurer.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm currently the Fulton County Treasurer with my entering my second term. I have past experience being in the New York State Senate, also a local town clerk and a business owner. So I look at all those things of having experience all around, and I'm running for the assembly because I've seen the struggles that the 118th Assembly District people are faced upon when we are in a one rule party system. And I'm running because I want to fight for our values and defend our freedoms and deliver results and bring common sense to Albany.
What did you do in the Senate so our listeners can understand?
Sure. I worked in communication, so I worked for the whole majority at the time under Joe Bruno, so I can see where our state was at its healthiest time, and I had that privilege to work for all the senators.
And a lot of people aren't aware of this, but for 40 years, the Senate was Republican controlled, and they were always a check on some of these wild ideas like bail reform, discovery reform, defund the police. And the Senate was always a check. And once the Republicans lost that, we ended up being in the minority party, greatly in the minority party in the Assembly. So why the Assembly, knowing that you'll be in a minority party with, it's going to be difficult to get anything done other than standard certificates congratulating grandma on her 50th anniversary or 100th birthday. So why'd you choose the Assembly, and what can you do to cross the aisle to work with the Democrats?
Sure. Well, I want to be part of the solution. I know that it is a one rule that it's hard to get legislation across, but we can't give up, and I want to be a part of that. I represent the New York State Federation of Republican Women all across New York, and I fight for New Yorkers and especially women, and we have to win where Democrats can feel pressure. And that's always not one way to get legislation across. So we have to be creative. How are we going to do it? And it takes a leader. It takes people to rally in support of these things. And I have done that in some of the groups that I've been in. And we do need to expose some waste and offer amendments. And that's another example of how we move forward, even if we are not at the majority. And in upstate, we have to realize upstate Democrats are often faced with the same local pressure in the 118th Assembly District. So when we bring those people together, we fight for some of these legislative ideals, we can get movement and we can meet halfway and we can bring some results to Albany.
So tell us a little bit about the Women's Republican, is it club or committee statewide, and what your role is, because that's your natural constituency then as you seek this position. One of your natural constituencies, you'll have people advocating because you've been across the district in the state. But what actually is your title there, and what do you do in that position?
So I'm the president of the New York State Federation of Republican Women, and we build women groups all across the state of New York. I just formed 2 major groups in Manhattan, in the Bronx. So we listen to, especially the women, what their concerns are. And I can tell you, without rallying these groups together and standing behind some of these concerns, you can't make headway. And so that is the focus. We've also rallied in support of legislation. We were rallying with the movement with boys in women's sports. We took pamphlets all across the state, and that's a little bit where we need to push forward, because we need to expand people behind our state officials to get these things done.
Because we're starting that volume issue. I don't know if it's on your side or ours. So you had said you're rallying women troops across the state, and then you started to fade off. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we, rally women groups across the state of New York, and that's where we can put pressure on, especially Republican women, put pressure on Democrats, and it takes a leader to do that. And we've built all these coalitions, and that's where we have to fight, Albany with some of these things. And our group is growing fast. We have about 1,000 women, and we're increasing as we speak. And we work at the state level, we work with national level people, and it works. And we hear what is the issues, and we're able to help fight those issues as a group.
What accomplishments could you cite in your position as treasurer that you would want people to know to show that you can do things and get things done?
Sure. I mean, and as treasurer, it's a little different than some of the, lawmakers types things, because we just get, laws forced upon us, and we have to, implement those. And so that puts stresses on our office. One thing, as it relates to, the Assembly District in 2022, there's a homeowners assistance program that nobody knew about, that helped especially the older population pay for their property taxes coming out of COVID. I put that on all my flyers. I help connect those residents so they could get some assistance for, to pay their property taxes, and some were at risk of losing their homes. So that was something, generally you don't see in the treasurer's office. I have brought some technology to our office. We moved over, 100 bank accounts. We became more efficiently in our bank reconciliation. This takes a lot of time to implement. We are always concerned about fraud. And so we moved all of our, accounts into this positive pay system where it protects the taxpayers' money, so we don't end up like they did in, I think it was Warren County, and losing, $3 million. So these are some of the things that we institute. We, do have, along with everybody else in the state of New York, so we have some hiring issues. And we're still able to perform. We took on the city of Johnstown taxes. That's above and beyond our usual, work that we do. I have a great staff, and so we've made gains in the office, and that's a little bit of what I've brought to the table.
You're right about this. We in law enforcement have been challenged, and it's diminished greatly since George Floyd. I mean, they've made it an occupation and a profession that people don't want to enter. And across this country, we've lost a ton of people who, as soon as they could retire, retired, who left the profession. and it's hard to get recruits. We're down to probably 25%. When I started 10 years ago, a civil service list might be 125 to 150 people in our county. Now we're lucky if we have 40 to 50 people. And then a lot of them just take the test while they're waiting for other jobs. But I want to start wrapping up. How are you going to handle the politics of it? Because there's 4 candidates alone from Fulton County. And some people have questioned that having 4 candidates is going to split allegiances. I know all 4 candidates. I know you very well. We've been on the campaign trail at different times together. We work together now. So, I mean, I think and Charlie's a supervisor, Christina's a supervisor. So there's that pressure from the local people. How are you going to excel among the 4? And then, are you concerned that if somebody from Herkimer Oneida gets in, that they could have a block and can beat all 4 of our candidates?
Oh, yeah, Rich. It's a good point. I've been, as you know, involved in all sorts of government and political entities. So I do bring that experience. I've seen things through the years, through the decades that in my work experience and how to work around these, Democrats and lawmakers. And so I can bring that to the table. It was a concern of mine as someone in Herkimer County coming up. That was one of the reasons why I was a little bit stayed back a little, because Herkimer County does make up the, good portion of the 118th Assembly District. But with a lot of my long-term experience, my ongoing support in community, volunteerism, whether it's for the veterans, whether it's for the SPCA, I've been on the ground, I've listened to the people, and now I can take that to another level to try to make change in our community that the people deserve and make it affordable.
And 2 last questions. First, will you pledge to support whoever does win the primary in the Republican side, or would you be running as an independent also?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely pledge whoever, won the Republican. That's always been my nature. This is my 6th run as an elected official in some capacity. And I have shown that. I mean, I've won in every election, but that was something that I've always spoke about, because I think in the end, our Republicans need to stand behind each other, because it's about the people, and we need to, we need to make these results happen. And that's absolutely, I would not run on the independent.
And finally, and this is an open-ended question, and it doesn't apply just to politics or life. It applies to any area that you want to mention. What would you say are your greatest accomplishments in life to date that you're proudest of?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a mom of 3 boys and a single mom, so I've raised 3 great boys. That is my, biggest accomplishment. I know family structure has changed, and it's tough, and you have to navigate when the times are tough, and you have to be disciplinary, and the end all results having 2 twins that are 24 and a 26-year-old, 2 who are currently have successful jobs, and one is finishing up in a medical school. So, I feel very proud of those values that I instilled in them, and that as a parent is a great feeling.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking time to join us. We appreciate you taking the time, because I think it's nice to have a casual conversation, not a debate, not a gotcha moment, but just so that you can let people know what you're all about moving forward. And also we'll hear from the other individuals running from the county. Thank you very much, Heather. You have a great year.
Thank you, Sheriff. And thank you for having me on today. And I look forward to the rest of the campaign.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet, the special edition of the 118th Assembly District candidates. That was Heather Scribner, the treasurer. We'll be moving on in a minute to our next guest. Welcome back. Continuing with the candidates for 108th Assembly District. I want to tell you that you can listen to this or watch it on YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else that excellent podcasts are showing. I'm going to welcome Chanda. Did I say it right finally?
Yes.
Chanda King. Chanda, people might not have met you before and don't know you. Why don't you take a couple minutes to tell us about yourself and what your current position is or what you do for work now, if anything, and then also tell us why you chose to run for assembly.
Okay. So I am born and raised here in Gloversville. My dad worked in the leather mills. My last maiden name was Insonia. I married Dayton when I was about 20 years old. We have 2 kids, 23. My son's in the Air Force. My daughter's a missionary. She's 20. We have a small farm, and we love our community. And that's really why I'm getting involved. My husband was the mayor of Gloversville, so I have never held a public office, but I've walked right beside my husband who has. We're such a team, and we work through things. So I might not have won an election myself, but I helped my husband win 3. A Republican, conservative, and independent. Even when the chairwoman told us to wait our turn, it put a fire in my belly that said, absolutely not. We're not waiting our turn. This is our community. We're going to fight for our community. So even though my husband thought about it, I was the one who said, absolutely not. We let the people choose, not a committee. So we ran and we won. And I still have that same fire for this community. My parents left Gloversville, went to Florida because they just couldn't handle the taxes. They couldn't handle that my dad was a veteran and wasn't getting the health care that he needed. So I lost my children to out of state, and then I lost my parents to out of state because of taxes. So I want to bring back opportunity, and I want to be able to keep seniors in their homes. It's very important because I could leave too, but I don't want to. This is my home. I want my children to come back here. I want opportunity for other people.
I want to commend your father and your son for serving our country.
Thank you.
It's always good that we have individuals who will step up and serve.
Absolutely.
One of the things is you're running to be an assembly person in an assembly that the Republicans are the minority party, not by 1 or 2 votes, but quite a bit. How are you going to reach across the aisle to get anything accomplished? Because we've seen so many times where bills are shoved down people, at people, by people, because we have all 3 branches are run by the Democrats. Yeah. How do you bridge that gap and actually smooth over the differences and try to find common sense? Before you answer that, I will tell you, see, my belief is we have more in common than apart. And it's so sad for me to watch for 40 years in politics that they, it becomes so polarized on both sides, and the extremes run it instead of us saying, what can we do to be sure kids have a good education, to be sure seniors have a safe place to retire, to be sure the veterans are treated well? What can we do to spur economic growth? And we get away from that. We just entrenched in right and left extremes. So what do you hope to do, and how do you hope to do it, more importantly, to bridge that gap?
I love this question. So for me, I am a conservative, and I'm not going to compromise on law enforcement. I'm not going to compromise on our gun rights. I'm not going to compromise on those type of things. But like you said, I think there are so many things that we can meet in the middle on. And I think it's keeping our community, keeping our local government local, right? So when I think people think of the word government, they think of Albany or even DC. But real government starts right here with you, right? Like with us. So I want to be able to communicate well. And I'm already doing that. I'm communicating with people where we agree on and disagree, right? So I think disagreement is wonderful because it's how you grow. I don't want to be a carbon copy of anybody, not even my husband. I want to grow, and that's through conflict. But at the end, there has to be a resolution. And I want to meet on where kids are going to school. Are we happy? Right? Is Fulton County happy, the graduation rate? Let's meet there as a Democrat and a Republican. Let's not talk about gun rights. Let's talk about that. What can we really bring here? Are we happy that our taxes are so high? What can we do? Right? Can we consolidate? Not have people lose jobs, but through retirement. Can we meet there? I'm not in this just to fight with someone. I will never say those darn downstate Democrats. I want to be able to work with them. And like I said, I already am. I have friends who I've been talking to through this who are extremely liberal. But when we talk about what's going on here, we laugh and we get along. We walk our dogs together and say, hey, how can we make a community better? How can I get on a board to help this? It doesn't matter the party line. I don't care. But I'm not going to leave my convictions behind. So.
Well, you're running against three individuals who have all held elected office in some capacity. One of my concerns as a bystander and as an elected official and as a, well, let's just say an amateur politician, is that you've got four people in Fulton County running for assembly in a Republican primary. You've got Oneida and Herkimer. If somebody from Herkimer gets in, you're going to have an issue with us having a solid front. And what I'm concerned with is if it was just if it ends up being just the four candidates, that's great. But if it's somebody from another county, you got four people splitting the thing. Let's face it, this is a small community. Everybody doesn't necessarily know everybody, but you know a lot of people. We all know a lot of people. The other candidates know a lot of people. I mean, I have connections with this is the first chance you and I have talked in person, on video, but I've been involved because I've been involved in politics with several of the other individuals. And it tests people's loyalties and it makes people say, well, I don't want to get involved because I like so-and-so and I like so-and-so and I don't want to hurt one of the parties, or I don't, it becomes a very interesting dynamic. So I guess my first question is, do you hear any grumblings of anyone from Oneida or Herkimer getting in? Will it make that difficult? Will that make it more difficult for Fulton County to win?
So I haven't heard anything about Oneida or anyone else running other than the four right now. And I say bring it on, because I want the people to vote. I am not, even though I am a Republican and I want to see red across the board, that's what I want to see and that's what I'll support. But I think we let the people decide, not the chair people, right? I don't love that we endorse before a primary, because what we're doing is telling the people, you need to vote where I say to vote. I'm saying, no, I'm getting out there. I'm talking to every single person. I'm getting involved. People, I have heard, not to my face, that, hey, she's not a career politician. And I say, good, because I'm unique. I think differently. I've been close enough to politics to understand how it goes, but no one bought me. No one paid me. No one rose me up. I'm not a long-term politician. And like I said, this reminds me very much of when my husband ran for mayor the very first time. There were four of us and they were all career politicians, and we were told to wait our turn and we didn't. And we won.
Yeah. I appreciate that. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And you've already covered some of them, but like if you were in a job interview, because this is what this is.
Absolutely.
What would you say your three strengths are and your three weaknesses or things you need improvement on? And you don't have to have three. I just use that number because that's what we use when we interview people.
Yeah, no, it's good. So I would say that my strength is knowing that I don't know everything, and I bring people in. I bring a team in. I will never say it's we. So I don't know if you saw that I'm working on something with the water department. I've been contacting with them. I did a proposal. That wasn't me alone. It was a 96-page proposal so that Gloversville could go from making $2 million on water to maybe making 20 to 30 million a year. I had a team of people, and my strength is I get on the phone. I will go to your office. I'll get your email. I don't go away. I love hearing the word no. We actually have a rule when we were with my children. I want you to hear 4 no's a day. So if you didn't hear 4 no's, then you didn't work hard enough. So my strength is I work hard, and I like to hear the word no because I'll go find the word yes. So I think that's number one. My weakness is I like to talk. I talk a lot. So
I can't criticize that because I love to talk, but go ahead.
So I would say I like to talk, and I'm learning to listen more. So I would say that is a weakness, but I'm turning it into a strength where I want to listen more, because what I've learned during all of this is every person I've talked to, I go to every Stewart's from Mayfield all the way to Messina. I stop at every single Stewart's, and I love talking to the old men at the table. And I've learned I need to listen. And because what they have said is every politician that wants my vote just yaps at me. They tell me what I want. They tell me what I need. No one listens to me. I feel forgotten. And it really broke my heart because it's exactly how my father felt. He felt like people told him what he needed, what he wanted, and what he should be doing. A man who served our country, built a business, built a home, and had to leave it all because Albany turned its back on him. So I've learned to talk less and listen more.
Will you commit to endorsing the Republican primary winner, whether it be one of the other three in Fulton or a fourth person from somewhere else? Would you commit to that on today's program, that if you lose this, you'll get behind whoever wins so that hopefully we could keep the seat Republican?
Absolutely. I want to keep the seat red, and I don't have a problem with the other three candidates. It's not like I'm fighting them or I'm at war with them. I'm not. I'm at war with the Capitol, with Albany, not my opponents. I think we're all in this because we want to see something better. But I'm telling you, I have a fire that like no other. I'm going to outwork every single one. I don't currently have a job right now. I have left my job other than our little hobby farm that we have. And this is a 24-hour job for me, and it will be. My husband and I have committed to this. That is another thing that's a strength. When I commit to something, you have 100% of me and the team I bring along, because I think listening to other people is super important.
Yeah, people may want to know, what was your last job? How long did you work it, and what'd you do?
Sure. So very long time ago, I worked at Lexington. I think they're a great great business. I loved working there. I loved the people. We couldn't afford 2 people to work and daycare. So I stayed home with our children. I homeschooled our kids. During that time, even though it wasn't a paid position, right? I'm not getting paid to be a stay-at-home mom, but that is a big job. And I'm so thankful I was thrown into that, because I grew up, education is important, having a career is important. That's what I was taught. Not being able to do that and being home with our children, I am so thankful, because it taught me so much and so much strength. Being a member of Pine Tree with my kids, being able to go shoot guns during 4-H, during homeschool time, they would never have had that opportunity. We learned how to trap up there. I learned so much being home with my children and learning how to govern my home properly, teaching my children like no one else can teach them. I think that's super important. So I don't want to dismiss that. It is not just being a stay-at-home mom. And then we have a hobby farm. We're butchering animals. We're selling eggs. We're doing things like that. So I'm a businesswoman as well. I've nannied, I've cleaned, but for the most part, I come alongside my husband and I support him in everything that he does. So when he was the mayor, my job literally was being behind him or beside him and helping him win and run the city. So again, I might be inexperienced because I haven't held the seat, but I am not inexperienced. I don't know if you've known, but I've been down at City Hall arguing with things going on there. I did not come out and endorse either candidate, Antonucci or Capano. I called both of them up and asked hard questions. What are you going to do? We're in debt. We're losing everything. The crime, what are you going to do? And now that Gary Antonucci is there, I'm 100% supporting him. I love Gloversville. I want to support him in the best way.
I appreciate that. And my next question was going to be, what's your greatest accomplishment? But I think you've answered it. Your family, raising your kids, is probably your greatest accomplishment. And you learn from that. One of the things that is big about the assembly districts is, while you can't move a lot of legislation except like a proclamation for Granny because she's 100 years old, or a 75th anniversary for a couple. My question to you is constituency services. Yeah. How many staffers do you know? Have you researched how many staffers they give you, and what do you hope to do with those staffers?
So I have not researched that. I really do not know. But again, it's just listening to the people. So what do they want? Law enforcement is really important. Safety is really important. And I liked how you talked about cutting off lower New York City. So I'm not sure if I'm for it or against it, but I've heard so much talk about it, and I've been very intrigued hearing so Whiteface Mountain that's owned by the state. So that's generating money that's going to New York City. There's other things like that. I'm like, whoa, I had no idea. So it is definitely something I'm researching and learning, but I love the idea that we can cut off lower New York if it's possible, if it's good for us. I only want to do what's good for upstate New York. And like I said, I love our district, but I love all of upstate New York. This is my home. So listening to the people, making sure they're safe, making sure their taxes are lower. And I do have ways to lower taxes. I know everyone gets on here and says, we're going to lower taxes. I'm doing it right now. There are things that I'm looking at with, again, the water department and bottling our own water. I think that's something that we need to look into. I'm not asking for anyone to make a decision, but letting the public know what is exactly going on. And that's what I'm talking about, being the voice there. And number two is the solar, right? So we have these solar farms coming in and buying up land. And even though I am not for large solar like that, I'm for the property owner. It's your property, Sheriff. You get to do what you want with it. I believe in freedom of choice. So I'm trying to bring opportunity. So I actually just met with someone with the marijuana. They're talking about, why don't we fill our fields with pot growers instead of the solar fields? And it blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute. Is this even legal? What's going on? So I just been digging into that, and it's amazing. So listening is my biggest thing. What do people want? So I don't know the staffers. I don't know what I'll get. And I'm just focusing on right now, what do people want?
Well, I appreciate that. Is there anything I did not ask you that you want listeners to know about you, about your platform, about politics? Did we cover everything pretty much?
I think you did. Just, I guess the biggest thing for me is I am committed to bringing more opportunity here. Like, my blood, sweat, and tears is Fulton County and this whole district. Because when I look at Fulton County, I went up to Hamilton County and I was like, it's not like Fulton County. It's totally different. We can't govern speculator like we govern Gloversville. So just, I want to bring opportunity to each place if that's what they want. So I've heard people talk about, like, oh, I'm going to bring cell phone towers here. Is that what the people want? Because when I was talking in Bleecker, they're like, we don't want that here. So I'm like, okay, I want to hear what people want. So listening there, I want to bring opportunity if that's what you want. If you don't want progress and you want to govern the way you want, great. And then again, lowering taxes. And like I said, I am working really hard on that. I'm tired of seeing our seniors leave and seeing our youth say there's no opportunity here. It breaks my heart.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on and taking some time in your schedule to be with us.
I appreciate what you're doing. This is awesome.
Yeah. I think people need to hear it in one place. And like I said, I didn't want to debate. I wanted just a conversation so people can see you unfiltered, listen to you unfiltered, and make their own determination as to, people are going to look and say, geez, I wish you'd asked this. I wish you'd asked that. But that'll give you something to answer on the campaign trail. If I asked all the questions, there'd be nothing left to answer. So thank you. You're listening to the Rich Giardino program. We're a special edition about the 118th Assembly District and the candidates from Fulton County. That was Chanda King, and she's running, and she's a citizen advocate and a mother who raised 3 children. And she was I don't want to say co-mayor, but she supported her husband in his efforts as mayor of Gloversville. Again, please share this on Apple, Spotify, X, YouTube, Facebook, and listen to it, because your vote makes a difference. Hello, you're listening to a special edition of the Rich Giardino podcast, where we've already hosted 2 individuals. Our next is Christina Van Valkenburg, who is the town of Johnstown supervisor and member of the Fulton County Board of Supervisors. And I want to thank you for joining us, Christina, and welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rich. I really appreciate it.
Not a lot of people may be aware of you and your background. You want to give us like a summary of like a little bit about your background and why you've decided to seek the assembly seat?
Sure. So like you said, my name's Christina Van Valkenburg. I actually started out as a police officer. I was a deputy, first started at Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and then I came up to Fulton County Sheriff's Office. I was promoted to investigator, so I was doing that for a while. I did welfare fraud, animal abuse cases, sex abuse cases. My father-in-law ended up passing away, and I had been injured and wasn't able to return to the job. So my husband and I purchased, it was Johnstown Agway at the time, but we turned it into Harvey's Pet. and home heating headquarters. And I ran that for 13 years with my husband. So I decided to run for town council when I was still owning the business. I wanted to do my time, make a difference. And then I decided to run for town supervisor. And then about 6 months after that, we ended up selling our business, and I was just doing that full time. The main reason why I had decided that I wanted to run for assembly is this was not about ambition. It was not that I woke up one day and said I wanted to run for assembly. This is about frustration. At the county level, all the mandates, the unfunded mandates from New York State, the bail reform of which our officers are facing, our public safety is in a crisis. I really believe that with my experience with law enforcement, I was also a domestic violence advocate. I forgot to leave that out. And my business, with the balancing of my business budget along with balancing of budgets at the county level, I was able to pass an animal abuse registry in Fulton County, as you're aware. And at the town level, we are fighting the solar industrial complexes that were coming into our town, because we have like 10 to 15 of them. And I co-wrote a law to help stop them from coming in as well. We just really need to be able to take back what the state is taking away from us. They don't have the same values as what we do in this area. And with a lot of work, I think that we can get there.
And you have the benefit, and some of our other candidates do as well, of having seen what's happened in the workforce, whether in private businesses, the ag way, where you used to hire people and they would stay with you for 25 years and 20 years, 15 years, and to law enforcement, where people are chasing the dollar a lot, and where ever since George Floyd, the law enforcement's been under scrutiny. They've been indicted, they've been charged, they've been attacked in the press, they've been attacked out in the field. And it's harder and harder to get people to join a profession that when you started was a worthy profession that people wanted to be in. Taking that, did you consider that you're going from a position as a supervisor in a Republican-controlled county, where when you want to pass legislation, it gets approved, when you want to halt things, you can do it easier than going to the minority of Republicans in the assembly, where it's not even 1 or 2 votes you have to swing? It's quite a difference. So what went into your equation to say, I want to go from being able to make changes to trying to make changes, because it is different. And have you thought about that part of it?
So I have thought about that. I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy. I know that it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not saying that every decision or everything that I try to bring forward is going to pass. I'm going to fight like hell, and hopefully that it will. But, it's also about compromise and negotiation. And I think with coming from some firsthand experience, it's a little bit easier, hopefully, for me to explain to the other side that these aren't working and these are the reasons why. I mean, I've been in those situations to where you have to make those split second decisions that could affect somebody's life forever. They seem to feel that, all cops are bad. Well, we know not all cops are bad. You have a bad few individuals that give a bad name, just like whether you're Republican or Democrat. Just because I'm Republican doesn't mean I'm a bad person, and just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you're a bad person. So we need to be able to sit down across the table and have adult conversations to hopefully try to be able to understand both sides and maybe come to some sort of an agreement.
You've kind of answered the next question, but what would you say your strengths are, and then what weaknesses, or what do you have to improve on, do you think?
I think my strengths are obviously my education and my experience with law enforcement, along with the business. I've only been on the Board of Supervisors 2 short years, but in those 2 short years, I think that I've accomplished a lot more than some people that have been on the board for a lot longer. I think my other thing that sets me apart is my work ethic. I mean, I will work until I get what needs to be done. I think my major weakness is probably going out and I don't want to say the public speaking, but I'm more of one of those people that like to actually get my hands in, get the work done, and do a less of the political part. I really tell you that I am not a politician, and I really am not one. I don't do the best in those types of situations of, like, the public gatherings, things along those lines. But one thing that I can tell you from me and my mentor at the sheriff's office, your word means everything. I will never promise something that I cannot deliver. So when you hear from me, I only put my name on what I believe and what I know I can do.
Well, I think you and a handful of the new supervisors really established a new mindset where people started to question some of the things that government was doing rather than blindly passing them. And I'm specifically referring to the financial end of the museum where you said, or Discovery Center, where you said, wait, we ought to pause this because we shouldn't be spending taxpayers' money on something that was supposed to be a grant. And I think that was very commendable for you and the others who did that, because it was like a train heading in a direction with people who, some of like yourself, were saying, look, it's not that you oppose a Discovery Center or what started as a museum. It's that you oppose spending taxpayers' money when we have such uncertainty. And I think you and the other supervisors who stepped up got a lot of credibility by doing that and not being a rubber stamp. And I think that's, you say you don't like the political part of it. A lot of people don't like the political part of it. It's not comfortable to greet people and things. I think that in order to serve, you have to do that, though. And I don't have any lesson for you. The lesson I tell everybody who gets into politics is, when somebody promises you they're behind you, don't trust them. When somebody tells you that they support the other guy because they went to school with them or they're friends with their family, trust them. I had people who told me they supported me, that it was like, how can they support me when they can't? They said they voted for me in a primary and they were a Democrat and I ran a Republican primary. I was like, you couldn't have voted for me, And I think that all politicians, and especially some of the people running this round with you, are novices and I don't mean in a bad way, but not comfortable, because it's like you as an investigator and as a police officer and as a business person, a lot of the stuff you kept to yourself. As police officer, we're very secretive of where we live, what we do, who our kids are, and then to try to transition is difficult. So I commend you for seeking the position, and you and your group that came in that said, we're not against anything, we're just for not spending the taxpayers' money in such a difficult time. So I think that's something that's important to a lot of people in the community. So one of the questions I have is, do you feel that by having 4 of you run from our county, you and I have known each other forever. Mm-hmm. I've known Charlie forever since he was a kid. I've known and ran, assisted Heather, and she assisted me when we ran. And I don't know Chanda that well. But I mean, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people, because I'm afraid that with 4 people running, if you guys split Fulton County and somebody runs for Oneida or Herkimer, that we could lose that seat. So how would you be willing to say that if you lose the primary, you'll support the winner? 1, and 2, how do you make inroads when there's 4 of you guys competing for the same pool? And I say pool because I know there's other counties, but really Fulton County could carry it with 1 person. And I'm not trying to discourage you or anyone else. My question was similar to some of them. There's 4 of you running, and you split a lot of loyalties get split. I don't mean you guys split, but a lot of loyalties are split because, everyone knows everybody. So how do you bridge those gaps, do you think?
Well, I think it's just about getting the message out of why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Why you're running. And I understand the awkwardness and, people, putting people in bad situations. I have not come out and asked anybody to endorse me. I do not want to put anybody on the spot. Again, that political thing of I'm not a politician. I'm doing things a little differently. And that's the reason. I do not want to ask anybody to be put on the spot. The part of would I step down if I didn't win the primary, the answer is yes, I would step down. I will tell you it will depend on who the winner is, of whether or not I would endorse that person, because politics aside, if I think that you can do the job, I will support you. If I don't think that you can do the job, I will not support you. I cannot, it's not in my DNA to put, again, like I said, put my name on something that I cannot tell you 100% fact that I feel that that person is the best for the job. So that would have to depend on who actually won. And what I see from these candidates as they're going about with their campaign as well. As for splitting the votes, yeah, I think that's it's tough. It's to put it in a spot. But again, I ask the voters to really look at why everybody is running, the platform in which they're running on. What are they going to do? Because again, this should not be about politics. This should be about representation. Who do you want to represent you in the assembly to hopefully make that change? And hopefully they can actually do their own research and go out and actually look to see who is the best candidate. I mean, I hope that they believe that it would be me, but I know that that's not, always the case. I really hope it doesn't come down to a popularity contest and actually looks at who actually does the work.
What do you know, or have you looked into how many staffers they give you? And because I think like a local assembly seat in the minority as Republicans, a bulk of your work is going to be constituency services, which you do now as a town supervisor. But do you know how many staffers you would get in the minority party Republican assembly person? And, how would you manage that? Because I think those are where the rubber meets the road, which is good. But do you know how many staffers? Have you looked into that?
I believe that we get 2 from my understanding. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I'm going to give you a Harveyism, and Harvey was my father-in-law. It's you always want to hire somebody who's smarter than you. And the reason why you want to do that is that you want them to have that information that you don't possess. So when you hire somebody that's smarter than you, you get them on your side, you get them to help you with what you need accomplished. So that is hopefully what my goal will be.
And what's your greatest accomplishment as a person? And I'm not talking necessarily politics or legislation, but more like in life. Like if you looked back and said, you're very proud of this or that, what would be the this that makes you most proud?
I think there's 2 things. One, obviously my 3 children. I love my children. They are my greatest accomplishments. But the other part of it, I am staying true to myself. I am not a follower. I believe I am a leader. And what I have done for, like, say, the animal abuse community or the animal community with the rescues, and that has always been a passion of mine, even when I was at the sheriff's office. I volunteered to do those cases because it was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to make sure that they were done correctly. But following my true self and what I actually believe in, that has not swayed, and I don't allow anybody to push me around, and I am not for sale.
I know no one can push you around. I have from firsthand. I know many incidents where no one's going to push you around. And I mean that in a nice way.
I know.
Christina, is there anything I didn't ask you that you want the listeners to know that they should know when weighing supporting you for this position?
Like I said, I didn't wake up wanting to run for assembly. I kept running into the same roadblocks at the local level where Albany's decisions are just they're really impacting our local area. And I can't sit on the sidelines anymore. I mean, you hear people complain all the time of this needs to change, but nobody is wanting to stand up. I believe that I'm that person. And again, I'm not for sale. I'm not a politician. And I know that I would represent all the people in the 118th district very well.
Yeah. My undersheriff, who was a Navy SEAL, says, don't come to me with a problem unless you come to me with a solution.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the same philosophy. I want to thank you very much, Supervisor Van Valkenburg. Good luck this year. Good luck in the race. And I appreciate you taking time to spend a little of it with us so that hopefully people will get to know you a little better if they haven't met you before or don't know you. Again, folks, you've been listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. It's a political discussion on the four candidates for the Assembly 118th District. And you can listen to us and watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, X, Apple, and all premium cable podcast networks. Welcome back. You're listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. Our guest now is Charlie Potter. Charlie's a member of the Board of Supervisors. He's been on the board for a number of years. And Charlie, welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Sheriff. Pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for the invite. And pardon my appearance. I've been on the campaign trail already this morning. This is the largest geographical area, this assembly district. So we're out campaigning. And so to take a little time to be on your show is certainly a pleasure.
I appreciate you taking that effort. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who may not know you and why you chose to run for assembly, Charlie?
Yeah, so experience matters. I am entering my 14th year as a Fulton County Supervisor. I represent the great people here in the city, Ward 4, the western part of the city. And this is an extension. Elise Stefanik vacated her seat to run for governor. Colonel Smolin is going for that seat. So it's vacated his seat for the assembly. So I wanted to press my message, my campaign platform, and get out there and represent the good people that make up the 118th Assembly District.
Now, you're going from a position where you've been in the Republican majority in Fulton County on the Board of Supervisors. You've been able to make some differences because you're in the majority, to
Yes.
a position where you'd be the Assembly minority, overwhelmingly in a Democratic-controlled chamber. How are you going to bridge that gap to try to get things done? Anyone can get, a 50th anniversary certificate for the Joneses or a 100th birthday certificate. How are you going to try to bridge that gap to get important legislation across the line or to block legislation that could hurt upstate?
Yeah, great question, Sheriff. And I see myself as a bridge builder. There's some people that may say they're going to go down there and turn the tables or flip the tables over. I'm going to go down there and work in a bipartisan matter. Not really, they can put me in parking lot 3 for my office. I'm going to be a district guy, and I'm going to try to be the bridge builder and get these small wins that deliver big results. So just for example, when you get to the Pex Lake border, entering Caroga Lake, you have no cell phone service. So I'm going to try to get a cell phone tower for Caroga Lake. As you well know, that's a public safety issue. That's a tourism issue. The CAC, Caroga Lake Collective, is growing up there. Caroga Lake is going to be continuing to be a hot spot. So if I can deliver a cell phone tower up to Caroga Lake, that's a big win. That's a big result. And working in a bipartisan matter.
What would you say to people who don't know you, but a little bit about your history? Where'd you work? What'd you, family, things like that. What do people need to know about the Charlie Potter, the person?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong Fulton County resident. Live in Gloversville with my beautiful wife, Kayla, and my beautiful daughter, Gianna. She's 4 years old. I'm a third generation leather merchandiser. My grandfather started that business in 1958. And he branched out on his own, and we're still doing that. It's a business that you have to be, on your game. And so I've been doing that for quite some time, locally and internationally. It's more than a small business. It's collecting animal pelts and getting them tanned to a finished state, and then selling that to either a domestic or international crowd. And I've been really successful at that.
And you were one of the supervisors who I would say is more fiscally conservative, and I appreciate that. I had mentioned to Supervisor Van Valkenburg, who's also running, that, to step up and question not the concept of a Discovery Center museum, but spending public money on something when there's not a desire by the public to have that. I think that that's very. You guys took a very strong position, and I commend you as well, to say, hey, it's not the project, it's the money. Don't be using taxpayers' money when there's so many other things like cell towers and other things like that. What would you say your weaknesses and your strengths are, Charlie?
Yeah, so my strengths have been a supporter of first responders. I'm a Back the Blue candidate. I want to make sure the men and women of law enforcement have the tools to operate. Here in Gloversville, the morale is low. They continue to go to these addresses repetitively and deal with the same issues. So I really want to make sure that law enforcement knows I have their back. I was an advocate for the 25 reduction to the 20-year plan. And, I think that's a huge hiring incentive as we're competing with other counties to, round out your force. The weaknesses, I don't see many. If any mistakes that I make, Sheriff, I try to recover and get back up to full throttle. And here we are, running for a state office. Human nature to make a few miscues, but we always recover and make sure by the end of the day we hit in a corrective posture.
And a little philosophical, and it doesn't have to be politics, Charlie. What would you say your greatest accomplishment is in life? Like, what are you most proud of? It doesn't have to be politics; it can be anything.
Yeah, I'm proud to be with my wife. We started dating in 2009. We've been together. We were married in 2017. She currently is the executive director of the Gloversville Housing Authority, which she's very proud of. I'm very proud. She's turned that organization around. I'm very proud to have my daughter. You're going to make me weepy here, and that she came along. And I'm proud to be a supporter of my family through thick and thin. And trust me, Rich, there's been a lot of turbulence in my life, as you well know. But I've always, at the end of the day, reestablished and delivered, great results. So I'm very proud. I mean, this afternoon, we're going to take a little time off from the campaign trail and bring the girls down to Billy B's in Crossgates Mall to enjoy family time. So yeah, I'm super proud of that. And there's been multiple examples, Sheriff, where Kayla, my wife, and I have actually teamed up. So in 2013, we found there was an issue at the Gloversville Senior Center, and I was able to get on that board, and we found out that there were several financial issues. So we started doing fundraising, and we really saved working along with the other board members, saved the Gloversville Senior Center. And fast forward to 2022, they received $1 million grant to rehab that building. So I can give you a list that we could go most of the morning on, but those are some examples.
Charlie, if were you concerned at all about the fact that if 4 of you run in Fulton County, you split the Fulton County vote, and if somebody runs in Herkimer or Oneida, they could pull it away from us? Or are you not concerned about that?
Yeah, so we've established a great ground game, many supporters, many people that are going to be helping us out. And the other candidates, they're more than welcome to run. I'm running on Experience Matters. We have great relationships that we have built in Hamilton, Herkimer, Oneida, and Montgomery. And we feel that we are the best candidate to get this job done, win this primary, and move on to representing the great people that make up the 118th Assembly District.
Thank you. Do you pledge to support whoever wins the primary, whether it's you or anyone else in the general, or would you run on a third party?
No, I'm a true Republican, Sheriff. I just posted that today on our Facebook. I've been an up and down supporter of the ballot, from Lee Stefanik to recently Ryan Hernagel, who defeated I think a 24-year Democratic veteran. So when I win the primary, I'm hoping that everybody will coalesce and support the Republican candidate. I have, there hasn't been many Republican primaries, but when there has been, I have actually called the candidate up after the day after the primary and pledged my support. That happened in the recent mayoral candidacy. That happened in the recent district attorney race a few years ago. So yeah, to your question, absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything I didn't ask you, Charlie, that you want the listeners to know about you as you seek the 118th Assembly District seat?
It's been a pleasure to work with Sheriff Rich Giardino over.
I'm sorry. That's a good move on your part for me. I appreciate what you've done for us. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure to work with Sheriff Richard Giardino on a professional level. I was on public safety for many years. I've moved on to other subcommittees, but there's never been, any question of my support for the men and women of the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. And that's, now going to be templated in Oneida, in Herkimer, in Hamilton. And whenever the sheriff, it could have been Sheriff Laurie. I was a big supporter of Sheriff Laurie when he brought in his, his blue wall. I think it was right before I got elected, 2011, because the county was talking about eliminating road patrol. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. You got to have road patrol. So I've been a big supporter of Sheriff Tom Laurie and now Sheriff Richard Giardino. And I'm going to support and template that with the other law enforcement departments within the 118th as part of my platform, Sheriff. And again, I know I'm going to go down there in a super minority, which is fine, and work within that minority conference with Leader Barkley. But I'm going to be a district guy. I'm going to make sure that people know that I'm in constant contact and touch everyone and how, basically, how can I help? I did this when I was the constituent director for Senator Mark Walczyk, and it was a home run. Every week and every day we had some form of home run where we were successful in helping people in his senatorial district, which obviously encompasses a lot of the parts of the 118th Assembly District.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Thanks for the compliments. And I do appreciate your support for the sheriff's office along the way, and speaking up and voting for us makes a difference. Good luck. Good luck. Have safe travels on the campaign trail. And thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us this morning, Charlie. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Sheriff. Anytime that you would like me to return to your show to talk about or discuss the issues, there could be, you could be agriculture, it could be public safety. I'm more than happy to jump on anytime and make sure that it's very transparent. I'm a very transparent candidate, and make sure that people know the issues and what I can do for them.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later. You've been listening to the Rich Giardino podcast on Constitution, Crime, and Politics with Charlie Potter, our last guest on this program, about the 118th Assembly District, the Republican race in the primary. Had some very interesting conversations. I hope that you listen to the entire podcast on X, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, anywhere that excellent podcasts are run. Thank you very much, and have a safe year.
Like and subscribe to The Rich Giardino Show, part of the Elite Influencer Network, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.